Chroma TV na wasubusu a wuti bon mo dey say obe like you go comment subscribe no wa share the notification bell no so set me abosa man say be a use about tia so on side to me account first me din e di obinge boss na me ka sibo ebrem na ye bobra isa ni ye guru e wo ye Ghana ya ifisem na Swiss ambassador to Ghana and di e dey Simon Giga chese mami o ya ba o Swiss ambassador to my Ghana na enche no bi pim o my Ghana mo. It's her first time in Africa and the first time in Ghana. Sane be Ghana what you say DJ kese pa no dey obi pim o my Ghana mo a o dey nsem bi etutu dwa na nsem mu na ese we dey ese o ka kire mu da o papa na nsem bi o kan say anything o say o my Ghana ye economy na say dey etiti apansa ni na no oni chese oni ni mine ni se ni busuafo ni na bibia no behwe abo ma bibia so etuma kosuya chese Ghana isika sem ebetumi abegina brand ono so dey sign sibisu etudwa na otua so e ka say o my Ghana mobile no she has felt as if say o fie she has felt as if say but in fact bibia e kosuye o my Ghana mo say Ghana asetran ni je papa ono so the experience in Ghana no the ni ajimu ye papa no say our political experience the political experience o my Ghana say local say our political system is a tremendous and unique one. This is a boy of Ghana also say by politics and say Kamima Nkebi na or say Ghana ya di papa or the sense so etua so edu tuja no say etua so e ka say koko edi emilo ye di yama bibre o man Ghana mu no in fact say between the case Switzerland or Panama so no so e the both team say dey koso won say ye bi Ghana e born ho mali obi mu a all the side say you so edu da mo man yenko tie say me ye Simon Giga so e enso e kan
Giga. She's been gracious enough to host us this morning as we get interactive. Simone, good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin.
I think it's only fitting we...
And kudos, really congratulations to you. You perfectly spelled my name, so not many people in Ghana can do that.
Well right, Simone Giga. I'm sure a lot of people struggle with the name.
Well, it's normal. I also struggle with Twi, so...
You know, at a point, I'll be finding out how many P words you've learned so far.
No, please don't.
Local language words.
Please don't.
Anyway, but it's going to be a very easy conversation. I'd like to start off with you telling us a bit about yourself. Who are you? I've mentioned that you have 18 years of experience in this space, but who is Simone Giga?
Yes, you said a lot about it already, and actually for this year it will be 19 years of experience because I've added the year in Ghana now. And I've been in Ghana since August last year.
Okay.
It's my first ambassadorial position. Before that I was 4 years in Bern. I was heading the global program on migration and development at Switzerland's Agency for Development and Cooperation. And before that, actually I spent almost all of my career abroad. So I was in, if I counted correctly, in 7 different countries, mostly in the former Soviet Union, Eastern Europe. So now for the first time posted in Africa.
I was just about to ask that. So this is your very first time in Africa.
Exactly.
Wow. And you have experience from the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
That goes
post-Soviet Union. I'm not that old, so yeah.
So that's a very interesting background that you have, and of course we're glad to have you on the continent as well to share your wealth of experience. But what has your experience been, especially as this is your first time in Africa and you've come to Ghana? What has the experience been like? How have you found Ghana? Everything from food to drinks to the people. What has Ghana been like for you?
And I will speak for myself and my family, right? So, because we're in this together. So I think Ghana is really a country that like sucks you in a good way. It has been very welcoming. Of course, there have been many news in my life, right? So it's a new continent, new country, new title, new job description, like new home, new school for the kids. So a lot of news, so it can be quite overwhelming, and I think it would be overwhelming for anyone, right? So it has been a struggle, but that is more like because of the entire constellation. But then, as I said, I think the fact that Ghana is like so open, and also I'm also talking about the diplomatic community. You know, I felt very much welcome, and through that, after less than a year, I can really say now I feel at home. And you said also, you know, talk about the food and the experiences.
Yeah.
So I really also tried to venture out, although it has been incredibly busy, and I wouldn't have to leave Accra because it's never a dull day here, I feel. I said, no, I really want to go out and see the country, because every country is more than it, almost every country, unless you're very small, is more than its capital, right? So I really tried to venture out, and when we venture out, I also tried to eat a bit like the local food and really experience Ghana to the fullest.
What have you tried? Local food?
Oh God! So I hope I see now where it already starts with the
you can describe. You can describe them.
Right. Of course, we fufu a lot. We have it once a month. So my family, the kids, of course, they love the fact that you can eat it with the hands. You know, just that for them is an experience. Then I like vache a lot.
Vache.
Okay.
Rice and beans mix.
Yeah. Right. I know what it is. It's just a then egusie. Is that how you say it? It's like made out of pumpkin seeds.
Yes.
So I like that.
What do you have it with? Because it usually goes with eba or doughy dishes.
Yeah, something. I think I had it with banku. I'm not sure. I think I'm not sure. And then I had a lot of guinea fowl when I was in the north. Of course, jollof, not to forget. So yeah, I think I had quite a good impression of this.
It's like you've had a swell time. You should, but since you've tried wache, maybe Ghana jollof should also be on your menu moving forward. But tell me, just because you brought it up, before we move on to the next question, since you're so busy, it just hit me. What is a regular day like for you?
Oh wow! You know what really is great about my job and what attracts me to it with all the stress is that there is no regular day, right? Like every day is different.
It comes with its own.
No, and sometimes also, you know, you plan and then like something comes in between, or like you know, or you're called to Parliament, or you have to see a minister. So these things are not plannable, right? They come at the last minute. Or headquarter asks you, you know, we want you to see this and that person, to talk on this and that. So it's not really plannable. But a lot of my normal day is really about meeting people, getting to know the country, of course, also learning about the country. And then, because at one point I'm expected to report back to my headquarters, because whatever I report back will then be part of our strategy towards Sub-Saharan Africa. So, but a lot of interactions, a lot of really getting to know the country. And then when I say interactions, it's really at all levels. So it's, of course, government is the main counterpart, but then also with the private sector, with civil society, with interesting persons in Ghana.
I also know you've traveled a lot. The last time we had an interaction, you know, before this interaction, you told me you had been to 10 out of our 16 regions. Have you added to that number yet? Tell us, what has the experience been like as you've gone around? I
haven't added to that number yet, but you know what? I think it was very good that I forced myself to go out there, because when you have a lot to do, it's always hard to take time and really say, no, I go on that trip no matter what. Because what I learned about Ghana is that, you know, you travel in one direction and you get one Ghana, right? We went to the Volta region, and there you have the lush, you know, forest, jungle, and you feel oh, I'm in a different Ghana, right? Then you travel west and you have, of course, the historic sites, you have the beaches, and you're oh, that's so different. Then I went north, and you have savannah, and also the food is different. Yeah. The people look different, you know, the clothes they wear are different, the traditions are different. So for me, it was really a kind of an eye-opening experience to say wow, you know, there are so many little Ghanas in the bigger Ghana, and the fact that that you know you exist as a nation, and all this diversity is contained in one, that I find really, really impressive. And
Switzerland itself has its own diversity in different ways, from flora, fauna to the population itself.
Absolutely.
And maybe some other time we'll get into the details of that. But looking at our bilateral relations, Ghana, Switzerland. In fact, on the very day of Ghana's independence, Switzerland, you know, acknowledged that a country called Ghana existed. I think the first missionaries, the Basel missionaries, came to our shores in 1828, thereabouts.
That's the figure I have, yes. Exactly.
And since then, there has been some sort of relationship between Switzerland and Ghana. We'll talk about the trade end, but what does this really mean, this relationship, Switzerland and Ghana? For which reason you are even present in the country?
You know, so you just mentioned it, 1828, so almost 200 years, right? So it has been a very long relationship. And what I've learned in my first months here, that I believe it has been really a very positive and strong relationship. So all really the reactions I get when I mention the Basel missionaries are like outright positive. So there's a lot of goodwill from the Ghanaian side towards Switzerland, and I hope, of course, that we can reciprocate that goodwill. You know, then that the relations have just grown in terms of the scope of what Switzerland does here in the country. So you mentioned we basically recognized Ghana on the Day of Independence, and then 3 years later, in 1960, we opened a full-fledged embassy. And then since then, especially in the last few years, we have really broadened our cooperation with Ghana. So political relationships, I think, are at a very good level. Your president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, visited Switzerland in 2020 on a state visit, and it was actually only the third sub-Saharan president, you know, that was given that honor. So that just speaks of how close our relationships are. And then our federal councillor, Sionetta Sumaruga, at that point in time, she came to Ghana the year after, and we signed a bilateral cooperation agreement, we signed a climate protection agreement. So right now, you know, at this moment in time, we really have so many different activities. So I said, like, we have political relations, we have economic trade relations. You said we would talk about that. We have the climate protection agreement, which, by the way, is really a first in the world. So Ghana and Switzerland are the first two countries that concluded a climate agreement under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement.
Right.
And that's really something that I believe also speaks to the strength of our relations. And then,
in fact, our president heads the climate vulnerable group.
Absolutely,
group of countries.
Absolutely. And
I remember last year he represented us in the Netherlands at an event where I was, and that really came to the fore. And
you have brilliant experts here in Ghana. So my colleagues, like the technical experts, when I talk to them, you know, and I always ask, like, you know, why Ghana? Why? And they're all excited. They said, well, because they have really good people, you know, at the technical level, in the ministries, in the agencies. So the cooperation at the working level is very, very good.
I have a sweet tooth. I don't know whether you do. The last time I came, we had chocolate.
Oh la la! We have to.
I know about 47% of the cocoa used for chocolate in Switzerland comes from Ghana. On that plane, what has the relationship been like, and what, I mean, in the future, could Ghana look forward to?
It's even more. The figure I have is more than 60%.
I see.
You know, and Switzerland sources most of its cocoa from Ghana because it's of very good quality, and I hope that doesn't get me in trouble with any other neighboring countries. But Ghana is known. I think
that is a well-known. It's
exactly,
a global fact.
It's a global. Okay, it's a global fact, right? So, so we source a lot of our cocoa from Ghana, and I always say our, you know, world-renowned chocolate is only what it is thanks to the Ghanaian cocoa. Well, not only, but it's a very important ingredient. So what we try to do, we have in Switzerland a so-called a Swiss platform on sustainable cocoa. It has more than 80 members, and it's really like a multi-stakeholder platform. You have civil society, you have the private sector cocoa producers, you have government entities in there. And we have actually established a dialogue here with the Cocoa Bot, but then also with, like, we try to more and more integrate integrate also civil society, private sector here into the dialogue. And through our cooperation program, we really try to finance programs that are like tailor-made to the situation in Ghana that are in line with Ghana's needs, and they can be, there's a disease called, and I hope I get it right, the swollen shoot disease that affects
swollen shoot disease.
Swollen shoot
cocoa
disease,
pods,
exactly.
Right.
So, like Switzerland, together with Ghana and the Creek at CocoaPod, they try to develop like new measures on how to detect and treat that disease. Or we have also activities like trying to prevent child labor. Then we have initiatives in agroforestry, how to make cocoa production more sustainable. So a lot of cooperation, and I think what is very important is that we have these this kind of, I don't know how you say it in English, like eye to eye, like, or arm's length relationship, and we start with the dialogue, and we really try to see what Ghana needs in that area, and what is the expertise we can provide.
At the tail end, I would like to find out, much later, about what you look forward to in respect of that. But in terms of economic cooperation, again, long-standing. If I recall, in 2020, the trade between the two countries, at least from Ghana's end, was about 2.9 billion. And that was about 97% of the trade. And it was more focused on gold.
Yeah.
From your end, we get pharmaceuticals, machinery, and all of that. Now that you're here in Ghana, I'm sure there's a lot more that we can do. What are you looking at on the economic, plane?
It's, as you said, like most, Ghana is actually Switzerland's number 2 or 3 trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa, depending on the year you look at. And as you said, it's mostly gold, because the gold goes actually to Switzerland, and Switzerland refines 2/3 of all the gold in the world, right? So that's in a way not a natural process. It goes to Switzerland, it's refined, and then it's exported from Switzerland. But when you come here, and we have about 50 Swiss companies, that set up their shop here in Ghana, and there are new ones coming also, and they're like, you mentioned it, in the pharmaceutical industry, of course. You have Nestle, everybody knows Nestle, they're producing here in Ghana. We have the chemical industry, we have some companies, smaller ones, in mining, in oil and gas. So it's really very diverse, and that's also what I like. Looking for, when I came here, so before August last year, I really thought, Ghana, thanks to its stability, macroeconomic stability, but also political stability, would actually be a very good entry point for companies, right, willing to invest in Africa. So we had big plans on attracting more investments from Switzerland. And then, like August, the situation was not really very favorable. So we really hope that now with the forthcoming IMF agreement, it will stabilize again. And then we can really talk about, bringing more investments in the country. But so far we have more been probably busy, with I wouldn't say calming, but making sure that the investors that are now in Ghana, the Swiss investors, that they can cope with the situation in an adequate manner.
I know any Switzerland ambassador to Ghana, because a Swiss ambassador to Ghana is one bigger. And so every 2 my Ghana, I said the first time we came over Africa, not just my Ghana, what is that in Simus to Ghana, and so catch your book Ghana. About first of all, economy no so the Guam, and so to me, I was see. Secondly, a political system, no, say, papa, maybe I saw it to my snap. Third of all, no, thirdly, no, with me, boy, I was so Ghana, your cocoa, it is a sending, yes, if boy, who buy with Biamuno, or say, you know, so the one, or the Sansi, so about to our so also to me, comment section, I was why they or check one game or Miss Mia Bramis with Makin kind amount. Yamaka say, we ever within Eddie or being able to say, Macron.